Peter, thank you very much. And I'm just uploading my presentation and then we'll get started. My name is Ruth Winden. I'm the Careers with Research Consultant at the University of Leeds, and I work with my researcher community regularly to make sure that they can really benefit the most from LinkedIn. And I'm almost there. I apologize. Let me just see. Because here we are. Here is my presentation, and let's get our thoughts together on LinkedIn. So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I have been on LinkedIn for almost since the very, very beginning, when things were a little bit easier, a little bit simpler. So I have grown over the years with that platform, and I have always been really interested in helping researchers embrace the platform. So at the University of Leeds, I offer shorter sessions, but also a 6-month program where we really go into detail all the different elements of LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. And tonight, in the UK, it's nighttime. With you, it might be lunchtime or early morning. What we wanted to focus on is 2 parts. The compelling LinkedIn profile, but also to raise your visibility. So I'll do the session in 2 parts, and we'll start with the profile first, then go into visibility. But before I do that, we will have a break at the top of the hour for 10 minutes. You will get a copy of the slides. I have integrated into the slides some of my top tips, so that go beyond the presentation. I don't want to overwhelm you. There is a lot to learn, but I've got 4 examples of researchers I've worked with closely. They come from different backgrounds. I wanted to make sure that we have a variety of subject matter experts, and 1 PhD, 1 postdoc, and 1 advanced postdoc, and also 1 professor. So you can really see the different styles and the different information that they provide. And I wanted to encourage you, if there are questions, can you please put them into the chat? Because then I'll do my best to keep an eye on them. I'm very happy to stop and answer questions. I want to make this as interactive as I can with you all here together. So yes, do take notes, but don't forget, you will get the slides, and please use the chat function. Then I can keep an eye on, hopefully, on the questions that you have. And I wanted to here first, the top of the hour, we'll have a break for 10 minutes, and then I'll go on to LinkedIn again live and show you examples. So for me, it was really important that we don't talk about LinkedIn in theory. We will go onto the platform live, and I will show you the different profiles. And later on, I will show you strategies and ideas and really simple things that you can do on LinkedIn to raise your visibility in terms of commenting, sharing posts. But it all starts with a strong profile. That's why we do it in this order. I hope that makes sense. So I just wanted to get a little bit of a feel for where you're coming from. Some of you might be very new to LinkedIn. Some of you might be very, very seasoned and very, very comfortable. And some of you might think it's really, really, a challenging platform. So if you could do me a favor, you can see the 4 options here and asking my questions. What is your view of LinkedIn? Is it, you say, I don't use LinkedIn yet, and I have to convince you that it's worth your while. You use LinkedIn, but you don't find it easy. You find it maybe a bit overwhelming, a bit intimidating. Maybe you're a confident LinkedIn user. Or some people say to me, I'd rather go to the dentist, so I would have to convince you. Oh, we have a wide variety. A few people, wonderful. Thank you so much for participating. So there's a real mix here. So we have some people who say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Some are new, some very few who think they'd rather go to the dentist. So that's always a good starting point. So thank you for that. That's wonderful. So I have an audience, and a mixed audience, but I make sure that you all gain something. And if you are new to LinkedIn, can I just encourage you, please take it slowly. I don't want to overwhelm you with my tips. You can really get started slowly and don't feel under pressure. You'll see some very accomplished profiles, and that is I do this on purpose because I want you to see what is possible. But these people who you will see, they have built it slowly over time. So it's all good. Thank you very much for participating. That's great. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a context of why LinkedIn is so important, because many researchers say to me, well, it's a business platform. Why do we in academia even think about it? And that has certainly changed. Yes, it started as a professional business orientated networking site about 20 years ago, but it's really developed fast. And what I see is more and more academics are coming onto the site for various reasons. It's a powerful site. We have now 1.2 billion members worldwide. I know in comparison to some other social media platforms that is not as big as, let's say, Instagram, but 1.2 billion people is a huge global audience. And importantly, for researchers, you will find many collaborators, companies that might be interested in doing research with academics. 69 million companies are on LinkedIn. They have profiles, they post things, they post opportunities, they look for people they can connect with. And then 140,000 schools. So schools is not necessarily like what we'd think, primary school or secondary school. Schools, I mean universities, colleges. So basically every single university that I'm aware of is on LinkedIn. They have profiles and they engage with people, and they have alumni, which is again a great network for you to tap into. And then on LinkedIn, you can see 41,000 skills. And this is really a huge amount. You can only sadly put 100 onto your profile, but we need to be selective. 41,000 skills. And what we see is recruiters increasingly, because the world of work is changing so fast, they're increasingly looking for the skills. So that's something I will explain today, how you can showcase your skills on LinkedIn. And it's becoming more and more important to do it well and not leave that section of the profile blank. So what I'm saying is big audience, global, and if you have a great profile, someone could look at that at 3 o'clock in the morning in a different time zone, and you wake up and you get a message request. I see this a lot with my researchers say, since I've really spent time on developing my profile and thinking about what I can share with my community, I get so much more traction, and I get so many, even now for some of our PhDs, they get approached by researchers in their communities and say, I'm really interested in your work. We have a lot of synergy. Can we collaborate? And that is really why we put so much emphasis on LinkedIn. So you might think, okay, where are the 1.2 billion people located? So yes, the United States is very big on LinkedIn. That is no surprise. It is an American site. But look at India, 127 million people. The Netherlands is actually very well represented. It's a small country in Europe, but in terms of percentage, there's a high percentage of the population. Also for the UK, I mean, we're only a nation, I think, of 69 million, but 39 million people are on LinkedIn. So there's a really strong penetration of people who are in work, who are on LinkedIn, and all over the world. There's not really an area where no one is on LinkedIn. So that just irrespective of where you're based, this is the global community here, and these figures are from 2025, just earlier in the year. So while we now go onto LinkedIn and look at some example profiles, I want to ask you these questions. There is no point on going on LinkedIn and building a profile that is attractive to everyone. We don't even want this, we don't want to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people, coming to us. We want the right people to come to us and engage with us so that we can build our community. And so my question for you really is, I want you to think about who is your audience on LinkedIn. And that will very much depend on your career stage, on your subject matter expertise, the kind of research you do, and who are you engaging with. So for instance, you You could be someone in chemical engineering who is doing a lot of collaborations with industry partners. So your audience will be, yes, fellow academics, fellow researchers, but also, that segment of industry, because that is your natural collaborators, the industrial, partners. And someone else might have a very different audience, So I just want you to think, who is your audience? Because that's what we're really trying to hone in, and we want that audience to come to us. So for me, LinkedIn is not only for, reaching out to reach other people, it's also how do we attract the right people to us and our profiles, and I'll show you how to do that. And then the next step is not just who's your audience, but what does your audience expect to see on your profile? And then again, that will be different for all of us. So it's a very unique decision. But it's important while you build your profile, what do people expect to see? And I can tell you immediately, they want to see, your research, and they want to understand some basics. I see too many profiles that are really empty and not populated. And I always think how sad, because if people come to your profile, they really are interested in you already, and they want to understand, who are you? What is your interest in your research? What's your specialism? What's your expertise? Who do you work with? All these kind of things. And what content are they interested in? And I'll do this in the second half of our session today, where we think about, yes, you have now a strong profile, you build your community, and what serves your community. I come from a very strong community building background, because that's really where you get the most joy on LinkedIn. Not just pushing things out, whatever you think is relevant, it's understanding your community. How do you help your community share things, build that trust in each other? So that's really my approach to LinkedIn, and I hope that resonates with you. Okay, so I will now go live onto LinkedIn. I will stop the share, and then I'll go on LinkedIn, and then I can show you. I can then show you some real examples, and that is really where the fun is, because I've worked with people. I can then explain to you why did they create those kind of profiles, what is the thinking behind it, because I know these people, and I can explain what our thinking was. So I hope you can now see LinkedIn. It should all be fine. And yes, there's a lot going on, isn't there? Admittedly, but what we're honing in here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger for you so you can see it better, is the profiles. So, that's hopefully easier for you to see. And the first person I want to showcase is Julia, who I work with this year. And Julia is a postdoc. She is very experienced. And the first thing that you see is, we're all visual, aren't we? We all are drawn to images. And the first thing, I don't know what your eye is drawn to, but in many ways, it is really this beautiful collage she has done here. And it won't be difficult for you to think in what area she is. Yes, she works in cardiovascular science. She is supported by the British Heart Foundation. And so what she wanted to showcase was, yes, it's very cleverly done. She's done a collage, and obviously there's a heart. There's something I don't understand, but I'm not her target audience. The people in her field will understand what these images are here on the left. But then also she is speaking at a conference, and for me, that header image is a really important one, because immediately you know there is something here. There's central image of the heart. You get some idea of what Julia is researching. And if it's of interest to you, you will stay on the profile. And if it's not of interest to you, because your research area is completely different, you wouldn't stay, you would move on. And that's exactly what we want. We don't want to connect with everyone. We want to connect with the right people. So in Julia's case, she wants to connect with researchers in cardiovascular science. And that's what she's, attracting by the way that she has chosen those images. In all likelihood, if you're on LinkedIn already and haven't had a chance to think about this header image, in all likelihood, you have the LinkedIn placeholder, which is a very Yeah, it's a grayish template, and it's not very attractive. And I personally think I really want you to think about what is a combination of images or one image, and I'll give you other examples in a second. What would really demonstrate and tell your viewers, your profile visitors immediately, this is my research area. And I've got 4 or 5 profiles, and I'll show you some more examples in a minute. But that's really important to me. If you just have that gray shaded, the placeholder template there, it's just a little bit boring. And I think you're really missing the trick, because we're all visual, and especially online, we're drawn to interesting images. And that, I think, is something to do straight away. And I know, please don't copy anything from the internet. I mean, I know this, you wouldn't do this anyway, but sometimes researchers think it's the right idea. I would say go to either take your own images. So I know if you do your own research and it's not confidential, that's the other thing, always respecting confidentiality, but you could make your own images, or, you can obviously buy images from many different sites, and they're not expensive. There might be $1, but I think it's a good investment if it really represents your research very well. Also, your universities might have image libraries, so ask around and see, what you can use. And then the second thing is that you will have seen immediately is the headshot here. So, Julia, we can recognize her. And the reason why LinkedIn wants us to have 70% of the image being our face is because the idea is, if we go to conferences and if we see each other, we will recognize each other from that LinkedIn profile. So that's a reason why they would really like a headshot from us. And again, if you don't have a headshot on there yet, I would really urge you to put one up, because we know that, people who have a headshot get 14 times more profile views. I think there is a real hesitation these days if we don't understand, is this a real person? Who is this person? It really helps with the credibility and the evidence. We can see in 2 images here what Julia looks like. There is a lot of great information here. So there's a lot of evidence of she is who she is, and that really overcomes people's nervousness, because we do have fake profiles, and we all want to make sure that, we don't get mixed up with that. So what we can see here is, the header image and then the headshot. And then the next thing you can see is, and it's, it might look different from what you have seen on your profile, because we're very, very keen that you think about this, what we call the headline here. Very often I see researchers, it might just say research fellow, or postgraduate researcher, or postdoctoral candidate, or this comes from your profile. I'll just go down and show you where that comes from. So LinkedIn by default pulls your current job title that you have put into your experience section. This is what normally LinkedIn would pull into that headline. So Julia and I have worked on this headline because you can override it. Every time you see a little pencil, that means you can overwrite what is already there. And the reason why I'm keen for you to have your own headline that says something about you and your research is very simple, and that is, LinkedIn is basically like a search engine. So what people do is, they might, if they look for a cardiovascular scientist, they will put cardiovascular and probably plus researcher into the search function bar here. And if you have just postgraduate fellow or postgraduate researcher in this headline here, you don't come up in the searches. And there are so many people who have that, postdoctoral researcher in the headline. I want you to recognize you're all unique. You all have a unique offering. There's no one else who can do this better than what you do. So how do you bring this across in the headline? Because the headline has a really high influence, strong influence on how high you come up in searches. It's basically like, do you appear on Google on a page 1, or do you appear on page 10? And I want to help you appear on page 1. And the headline here is the place where you can write about maybe your mission, your vision, your specialism, but you definitely have to make sure you also need to have some keywords in here. So the kind of words that people search for when they want to find people like you. That's what we call keywords. And so here you see Julia has definitely, you know, researcher. Then she has cardiovascular science. So although this is a sentence, you know, still the keyword is included here. She's got the British Heart Foundation here, another keyword for her. She is a molecular biologist. Lead for outreach. You can argue some people might be looking for someone who does outreach work, so working, you know, working with the public on helping them understand science. And it is a keyword. It's not the most important one for her because she's mainly a researcher, but it is important for her to make herself just, you know, differentiate herself from colleagues. And then what's special for Julia as well is, you know, she's a project and student supervisor. So can you see the thinking behind here, the strategy behind here? So she didn't just put postdoctoral researcher, because then she would be one of a million and it would not differentiate her from all the other people who leave that job title that LinkedIn pushes up into the headline by default. So we have to really manage it ourselves and replace it with something that makes sense to us and that also makes sense to the people we want to engage with on LinkedIn. What you also see here is that little bell. That means I can, if I click on this, then every time Julia posts something on LinkedIn, I get this here up in my notifications. So that's something you can switch on. I quite like it. So make sure that I don't miss any posts from people in my community. And here the university comes up with the logo, which is really nice. Then it's here the location where she is, the contact information. But one thing I also wanted to highlight to you, because you're obviously researchers, you know, look at this. It's really nice. You can link your research profile to LinkedIn. And I won't click and take us away from LinkedIn now, but if I wanted to understand something about Julia and her research focus and her publications, I click on this and it takes me directly to her research profile and where I can see all her academic credentials and her contributions. And that's really nice because it's so high up, you know, you can't really miss it. So if colleagues want to see what have you been researching, what are your interests, they don't only have the LinkedIn profile, they can also go to the research profile and you can link it to whatever fits your strategies. So some people put it put the link to the university profile. Some people put it onto ORCID. You know, you choose the right platform for you. And yeah, here are, you know, the kind of connections. We'll talk about that briefly under visibility. So she's well connected to more than 500 people. And what's nice about LinkedIn is also, you know, so I can then see who's Julia connected to and who do we have in common. So we have, you know, quite a few mutual connections. And that from a networking perspective is really, really helpful. But I wanted to go down on the profile and show you something here that is really important. And this is called the About page. And that is the section on your profile where you have 2,600 characters. And this is free space where you can really decide, what do I want people to know about myself when they come onto my profile? And the challenge these days is it's not all visible because it says here, see more. So the question is, I'm not advocating clickbaiting. If you're active on social media, you know what that means, you know, getting people to click. But how can we make it intriguing, interesting, you know, for her community? And what she chose to do was, and I think it's a beautiful statistic that really stopped me in my tracks when I read it, 1 in 4 people die of causes related to blood clots, making the leading cause of death worldwide. I had no idea. And okay, I'm not a target market, I'm not a researcher in her field, but even that, you know, I get curious because what she is doing is she's trying to understand these risk factors and works on that. She has a very personal story, which I talk to you in a minute, but basically there is enough here to, if you're interested in this, you will click and you see more. And she goes, it's not, she hasn't used the full 2,600 characters. You don't have to do that. I think there's enough here to intrigue you, and there's enough information to get more interested. And also what she's done really nicely is she's given us lots of white space, because online, don't forget, you know, we might want to skim. It's hard to read. A lot of people use LinkedIn on their mobile phones. So that means, you know, how can we make it easy for people to see the information? But what I really like about her About page is also something here at the bottom is, if you would like to know more about my research experience, feel free to connect with me here on LinkedIn or on Instagram. So she's also active on Instagram. It gives people another chance to connect, you know, not just through LinkedIn. But then what you can also see here is all the skills. And again, it's very visible. I said earlier, recruiters are, you know, and are so interested in our skills these days. And on that About page, we can add the top skills. They're very, very visible. Let me just go quickly into the chat and see whether any questions. There's nothing yet. Okay, I hope it's all clear then, and I don't overwhelm you. So this is the About page, and it's probably the hardest thing to write. So I would probably recommend do the other easier pieces first, and I'll show you the whole profile, what are the different elements, and then leave the About page for a little bit later when you have populated the rest. Have a think about, you know, what do you want to bring across? What do you write at the beginning? And I'll show you some other examples, because you can also structure it with headings, for instance. I have one example, Peter Yeager, who's done it like that. I'll show you that in a minute. So About page, we scroll down, and this is something here that I absolutely adore, the featured. It's relatively new. It's only been on LinkedIn for about 2 years now. And this is high up on the profile, but a beautiful place to showcase your best work. And you can upload up to 5 different pieces. It could be a video. So this here is a video. It's very professionally made, showcasing Julia's research, and it also shows why she did the research. It's to do with family history and blood clot, and I think that motivated her, you know, the family member who was affected. I think that really motivated her to go into that research direction. It's a really powerful story. It's a beautiful video. And what you do is you upload it and you click on it, and it takes you to YouTube and you can see the video. But if you're interested in her as a researcher, it's an incredibly heartwarming story, and you can't help but really want to reach out with her. So if you you can do your own video. I think Julia did this with our communications team here at the University of Leeds. So, you know, there are different ways to do it. And I know not everyone likes video, but if you enjoy doing videos, if you enjoy the visual side of it, and you enjoy talking to a camera, being filmed, then video is extremely popular on LinkedIn. I am not so keen on video, so I link to yeah, where I've been in the press, or where I've written a blog post, or where, you know, there is a picture, or, you know, if I have won an award, so, you know, I link to these things. So it's really up to you. What is your best work? It could be a research paper. It could be, you know, you presenting at a conference, someone takes a photo and you upload it. And then what's really important is, and I don't want you to ignore this, please explain what it is. So it's absolutely obvious, this is your work, this is your achievement. And you can have up to 5 links. And it depends the strategy behind it. I think when it's 5, then you ask people to scroll. I, for a long time, only had 1 because I wanted this to be central. You could not miss that piece. 2, you don't have to scroll, but as soon as you come to 3, no, sorry, it's 4, you need to scroll. And it's just a different strategy. Do you want to show the breadth of your achievements, or maybe you're just starting out and maybe you just have 1 thing? And please promise me, do keep it up to date, so it's always topical and not something. It's so easy to forget these things, you know, that might be far, you know, that be out of date in a couple of years' time. So it's always a nice way to keep it fresh, unless it's so amazing that you think this is the most important thing for a very long time to come. So let me just repeat. So we looked here at the visuals, the heading, we looked at a headshot. Here is the headline, which is so crucial in making sure you've got the right keywords in there to help you come up high on searches. We looked at the opportunity to put the research profile in, and we looked at the About page. Then we looked at featured, where you showcase your best work. And then we go down, activity, we'll come to that after a break. You know, when you get visible on LinkedIn, it shows. So remember, everyone can see everything you've ever done on LinkedIn. So that's just a little reminder, and that, you know, we'll always do this professionally, of course. And then here we now go to the experience section, which is basically the different positions you've had, the different kinds of work you've had. And I would absolutely love for you to give me a little bit of detail. So I see too many profiles on LinkedIn from researchers. They might give me the title, but they don't explain what they do. And I think that is just an opportunity missed, because people come to your profile because they're curious. They want to understand more about you. And so let's not disappoint them. Give them enough information. It doesn't have to be long. Look at this. I mean, it's enough. She describes her research. She describes, it's technical, and that's fine, because her audience understands these words and these specialists, the acronyms. That's fine, because people understand those, for the right audience. So always think about, what does my audience understand? What are they looking for? And so it doesn't have to be a lot, but what's great is, she also puts her skills in. And then here, sadly, she put her ORCID LinkedIn, and sometimes LinkedIn can be a little bit glitchy. So, sometimes the images don't quite work. So you have to go in from time to time and just check. But here, there are things that are working. So again, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it gives you an idea of, what she's done. There's some evidence here, and people always go to the visuals, don't they? And she does this consistently all the way through. So that's something I would really recommend you all think about. Depending on how far you're in your career already, you will have more to put in, but the current position, I would say, is probably always the most important one. So sometimes I see nothing in the current position, lots from years ago. That is the wrong emphasis for me. Do it on your current role. The most important one is your current one in many ways. Give us information. Don't overload us, but give us something that gives us a good idea of what you are focusing on, what your collaborations are, what your focus is, and what skills you're developing. And then no surprises here. There is the education. And again, because here, make sure you've got the logos, the beautiful things. All the universities are on LinkedIn. So you just have to start typing the name in, and that logo then comes up. So that is very clear. Then some of you will have done licenses, certifications, and you have to click, and then you see more and more and more. And you will all have things here. Don't hide it. It's a really useful thing to have, because people look for these things. Let me just, yeah, here we go. So I'm scrolling down: education, licenses, skills. And this is a skill section where you can put in the 100 skills. I would probably not go to 100, because you always want to leave a little bit of space for those that you are developing new. So for instance, many of us are now upskilling ourselves in AI, for instance. If you're an expert in that, it's so much in demand. I would make sure it shows here on the top. So you just have to go in a little bit from time to time and look what is coming up. You always want to make sure, because it's so visible, that those that you really want to have on here are on here, and you can move them up and down if you go into the skills list. Then we have recommendations, and that is something that is really important. And I find researchers sometimes a little bit hesitant. In industry, it's much more common, but I would really recommend that. Think about, who are the kind of people who can vouch for you as a professional, as a researcher, and and who can share with people what is really important about you, what your contributions are like. And in terms of getting visibility on LinkedIn, what you want to make sure is you need 2 recommendations on your profile. Then you have a full profile, and then again, you come up higher in the search results. So that would be something that I would really recommend. And you can think with the recommendations, you can think, okay, who are my peers? Who do I work with regularly, closely? Who knows me well? It could be people that you guide, mentor, coach, if you're supervisor. It could be your line manager. Have a conversation with people and say, I'm building my LinkedIn profile, and get them to write you a recommendation. And I would always encourage you to have a conversation with them about what they're focused in on. Help them a little bit. You've seen me manage this project, I would be delighted if you can comment on my project management skills. Is much stronger recommendation in the end than people just saying, oh, Tom is an incredibly nice colleague, and I, would recommend, he's a great asset to your team. That's just a little bit too broad. And I'll come into the questions in a minute. I'll just go down and then I'll show you some other profiles. So here, honors and awards. She is an associate fellow of the Higher Education Academy. That is a UK-based qualification that is highly regarded. Languages and interests. And I'll show you some other profiles in a minute, just to show you some other elements, for instance, projects. But I'll just go into the chat here and see what the questions are. Do I advocate for LinkedIn to subscribe? Oh, that is a tricky question, because I personally pay for my business, for my premium account. Personally, for me, it is incredibly useful because I can see a lot more than my research with a free account can see. I can also connect really nicely and widely with lots of people, and I can personalize my invitations to connect. That is something that LinkedIn sadly stopped. For people with free accounts, you only get 5 invitations per month now, where you can reach out to people on LinkedIn and you can personalize your request. And for me, that is a really important thing. If I want to engage with people, I really need to say to them who I am and why I want to connect with them and what's in it for them. Otherwise, people might not really respond to me that well. And now that LinkedIn has cut this down to 5 per month, that's 60 a year. If you want to build your network, I think that is not very much. And that's why some people now decide to invest. But to be honest, it is very, very expensive. It is, I think, almost 35. In pounds, that might not say much to you British pounds. It's, I think, between 35, 40, 45 pounds a month now. So one top tip is, and don't quote me on this, is if you're, for instance, in active job search mode, or you really want to develop your network very fast, you can always sign up for a 30-day trial for free and test it out. I would just see, is it worth it? But it's a big investment. If it's £50 a month, that's £600 a year. That, I mean, I still have one from many years ago that is a lot cheaper. So it's a judgment call. You can search a lot more, you can reach out to people a lot more, you can see a lot more about opportunities, information about companies. I think LinkedIn is continuously restricting more and more with the free account, sadly, so that people are pushed into buying the premium service. But I would always negotiate with them and get a better deal. That's as much as I want to say. And yes, Sangeeta, you will get a recording for the session. And yeah, okay. No more questions there at the moment, in which case I just want to make the most of our time together, and I'll show you some other profiles, because this was Julia, she is a postdoc. I wanted to show you Peter Yeager. Peter Yeager is also someone here at the University of Leeds. And okay. Here is his profile. And can you see the power of the image there at the top? Whatever you think Peter is in, it's got something to do with healthy food. And yes, he is a nutrition researcher. He does qualitative and quantitative research, and you can see the headline here. But it's a beautiful image. It attracts a lot of people because it's fresh, it's colorful. It's, oh, what is this? And yeah, it gives us a very good indication of what he does in his research. There's Peter. He is an incredibly approachable, friendly colleague of mine, and he has thought long and hard about his headline, and he has all the right keywords in there. And it's, Peter and I, we both wanted to bring in something a little bit personal. LinkedIn is becoming also we're becoming a bit more personable on LinkedIn. So yes, he loves traveling. He's from the global south. He lives in the UK, and he wanted to bring that across. So again, we can see the same thing here, the connections, but I want to show you his about page because he has structured it slightly differently. It's really interesting. And again, he wanted to lead with giving an idea of why his research is so incredibly important, and when you look at the figures and the statistics, you think, wow, this is a huge issue. And you can really see this is why he wants to do his research, because he's very value driven. He's there with a purpose and he wants to make a difference. And how he has structured his about page is different from what Julia has done. So remember, Julia had just 2 paragraphs, quite short. Peter has gone for a different approach, and I think it makes a lot of sense because he has given it clear headings. So it says here research focus, so that's your interest. You can see that immediately. He's written about his experience. He's talking about his skills and his project management background. He's talking about his communication skills, mentoring, and his research experience. And then, he sums it up. And again, he is that really friendly. If my profile resonates with you, please get in touch. And he gives his email address. That's one choice. But can you see how he has structured it? And it makes it really easy to think. It's really easy to think. These are the different aspects, easy to see. You can skim, and then you can go from there. Then he has several things. Can you see that? He has several things on the featured. So this is what it means when I said you have to scroll. So you have to click this button, and you have to go backwards and forwards. And it's, he has so much here that is relevant. So I understand he's got 5 pieces here. It's just a different first impression. And he is very active. We'll look at that after the break. Again, very similar to Julia. One tip I wanted to give you is you don't just have to put in the research fellow here in the headline, because again, this for the keywords and for how far you come up in the searches is really relevant. You can also give it a little bit more detail. So people don't have to go into the text to see what kind of research fellow are you. You can put this all in, and really give your background. I think that's a really, really smart way to do it, because it's very clear this is his research. People don't have to read the text underneath the heading here. So yeah, he's done a lot of things. He's lived in many countries. He's very, very experienced. But what I want to show you was what he has done here with his skills. So you can also, you can bring these skills in so people understand the context where he has developed them. And he also has recommendations. He's also listed publications, and I think that's a really good idea. If you are staying in academia, if that's your academic career path, then it's really good to show those publications. But I think I would always recommend that you put the highlights in there. I recently saw a LinkedIn profile from a professor who had 140 publications on there, and it's not an academic platform. I think I would always put highlights in, and then the most significant publications, and then link to your research profile, because people will not use LinkedIn to go through your academic publication record. I think you probably do this all together on your research platforms. He's done courses, he's got awards, he's got the languages. He is the professional association. So if you're in these organizations, and then his interests. And then, you can also list, what you really care about. So that's a very quick whistle tour, but you can see how attractive it is, how well populated it is, and what a great job he's done here with his about page. And people will skim, and they will either read or skim. The information is all there. And please don't think, oh, I'll just copy over my resume or my CV. Write it in the first person, and be mindful about what you want to showcase. You can do so much more with a LinkedIn profile than a CV. And I just wanted to come back to a comment here when I said, yeah, how do you mean negotiate with them? Is that possible? Discuss a discount on the premium account. Well, I'm of the they might say no, but if you don't ask, you don't get. Don't forget, LinkedIn wants to have more people on premium. I always negotiate. I'm not saying this would work, but I think try. Why not? Okay, and then yes, should we always send a message when we connect with people? So I give you my take, and you need to decide what your approach is. Personally, I see online networking in very many, very ways. It's similar to in-person networking. So I would never dare to go to a conference and not really have a conversation or introduce myself. And so I personally think when I get a lot of requests, I've been, on LinkedIn for a long time, I have a big network. So people come to me quite regularly, and I know now they only have 5 opportunities a month to personalize that request. So I'm much more lenient than I used to be, because before that change came, I did not connect with people who didn't tell me who they were and what they wanted from me. I think it's much easier for me if someone says something to me, puts it into context. I'd read this post, or I heard about you, or I was in your workshop, and I'd love to be connected with you. If I know where people are coming from, I'm so much more inclined to say yes. This might be me. I'm advanced in age and professional experience. You might say, no, for us, we're younger. For us, it doesn't matter. But be aware, if you reach out to more senior people, they're often, as may I say, I'm old-fashioned in that regard. Maybe I am, they will be similar to me. So in that case, I would, if you want to connect with people in your department, tell them, look, I'm reaching out on LinkedIn. I only have 5 I can personalize every month. I just want to reach out to you. Don't take it the wrong way, but I'll just send you a request. I won't personalize it, but save the ones that you personalize for the people who are really important. So either people who you don't know yet, but you really want to get in front of them, or people, you've just met and you want to put it into context. So that is my only advice. Sadly, you only have 5 now a month. That is not very much. If you want to build your network, that's only 60 a year. And we'll talk about the networking after the break. But that would be if you can personalize it, save the 5, if that makes sense. And thanks for bringing the questions in. That's great. She just finished her PhD. She was a lecturer before, and she just added the PhD. Here we go. She has also worked with me. She's also in food systems, but it's slightly different. She does R&D applications, very different fields, black and white and gray. Can you see how much you can really influence what the first impression? This is very cool. Choose how you want to show up. And so Nena, she has just got her PhD, and here's about section. Compare that to the others. You need to read a lot here. There are no headings, I just want you to, I'm not judging it. It's just different, and just think about what works for you, what do you like, and what works for those people who come to your profile. Personally, I think the headings make it a little bit easier, but I also like the fact she's written a story about her background. I know her well. It's really interesting. And she's also really honest. This is who I am. I'm that person who reads the manual cover to cover to ensure we achieve the best user experience. She shows her style, her approach, her personality really beautifully in that about page. I really like that about her. Also, what matters to her? I'm committed to fostering diversity and cultural sensitivity in product development. That's who she is. She thought very clearly about, this is my approach, because she wants to make a lasting positive impact on the global food industry. That's so compelling, isn't it? And then she has here the featured, but I wanted to share with you what she's done. She's done something the others haven't. So here's something new to learn. She writes beautiful posts, and look at this, 16 comments, 32 comments. She's so many people like the post. We'll look at that after our break. So here is, she gives us information about the kind of thing she's done in her PhD. She was a lecturer in Nigeria, but what I wanted to show you was, so that's her professional experience, that's her education. You can pull images here into, I think that really breaks it up beautifully. Really good idea, and she explains what that is. But what I wanted to show you was projects, and I'm a big fan of projects. Projects basically are an opportunity for you to showcase who you have done your research with. So if you're in, part of collaborations, then you can put the project onto your profile, you add other contributors here, and then LinkedIn goes to your contributors and says, is it true that you have done this project together with these people? The person says yes, and then they show up on your profile and you show up on theirs. And can you see this person here doesn't have a photo? Can we see how important it is that we bring a photo in? So here we go. Here is one where we have 3 contributors, and she has quite a few projects here. But it just goes to show, the kind of things that she's engaged in, the kind of people who she collaborates with. And it just really nice way to showcase all of our collaborations. So you don't have to put all of them in, but put your best ones on, and then invite the people in your projects, and you can then support each other with the profile. So Nena's done that really beautifully. And then also what I absolutely love about her profile, she's done something that a lot of researchers do not want to do, and I need to convince them, and that is the recommendations. So, and it's nice. There's here one from a colleague, and there was someone who worked with her on projects, and she's done quite a lot. And you might say, is it really that important? I do think that these recommendations actually really give you a good idea of your approach, what you like, how colleagues or collaborators see you. So I'm a big fan. And as I said earlier, you need to have a full profile, and then you come in higher in the search results. And I want to give you one more profile, and then we'll have a break. One more, and this is now from a professor at the university here I work with a lot, and he is he's a professor of religion and global engagement, and he is a wonderful colleague. He spent quite a bit of time with me on developing his profile, and he is very active, and he's someone who always lifts other people up. He always shares comments, congratulates. He's a very, very collegiate professor here at the university. And I just want to show you different career stages. So he is at an advanced stage. He also links in here, he links this to his research profile. He's very well connected. This is again really interesting. I can see how many people we know between each other. But then here, he's got his about page. He's got featured, and I think where he really stands out is how much he engages on LinkedIn. I mean, he has done so many posts, and he gets huge engagement because he's active. He also, lots of people know him and engage with him. So he's built a beautiful visibility for his research and his department on LinkedIn. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like then. You can see the career trajectory. That's the beauty of LinkedIn. We can all see our career paths. How have people driven their careers? How have they driven their academic careers or gone into different directions? So just want to show you one more senior profile. And obviously it is a lot longer because the person has been in the workplace for much longer. But you can see all the different things, was visiting professor, external examiner, and all these things. And interesting enough, Jazz came over from industry about 20 years ago. Yeah, you can see the education, you can see licenses. So I just want to show you what it looks like when you're at a more advanced stage. And there I gave him a recommendation because he was such a joy to work with. And yeah, I will leave it at that and just have a quick look. Are there any questions? I'm just looking at the chat. Do you just want, we've got 2 or 3 minutes before we break up for our 10-minute break. Anything you would like to know or ask me? Anything that wasn't clear? Very happy to take questions. It seems to be clear because no questions are coming through, but I'm very happy to answer anything. Also, when you have the tea break, you can put some in and I'll answer them when we come back. I hope that I have given you enough examples. So 4 different people, 4 different career stages, 4 different backgrounds that you can really see. Yes, there's probably a certain style here because they have worked with me. So we always think very clearly. And look, I think this is a great image. I mean, Jazz speaks a lot at conferences and gatherings, as you can imagine. And if you think, what kind of an image do I have that I could put here into the header image? It could be you presenting at a conference, or it could be you presenting at a seminar. I think we just have to always remember that we ask people, can you please take a photo of me? Or even, can you take a little video of me, so that we have this kind of material then for our profiles. So if we don't have any more questions, and I can't see any, then I would encourage you, go and have a break. We are coming back in 10 minutes. I just want you to have a good break. Come back, maybe even get yourself a drink, have a little switch off the screen, come back, and then we'll start again at 10 past. I'll be staying here, but do have a break, and we'll come back and we'll do the second piece, and that is visibility on LinkedIn. How do we, once we have a good profile, how do we now engage with people? Thank you very much. And I hope you come back in 10 minutes, and then we can do the visibility piece. Okay, it is 10 minutes gone, and I hope you had a break, maybe even a beverage. Let's just take a moment to reflect on our first hour together. Are there any questions about profiles, whether you are new to them, whether you feel very experienced, or whether you didn't really want to be on LinkedIn? I'm really open to answering any questions. You just have to put them into the chat so I can see them. I just didn't want to go straight on into the next session before we had a chance. Any questions here? Wonderful, there is one. Okay, what can LinkedIn add to a researcher other than connecting and being more visible? That's a really good question. Definitely what you can do is, expand your network, which is something that we all need to do in our careers. So it's the networking side. It is reaching out to collaborators, finding collaborators. That could be for your research, or that could also be for other things. I definitely recommend looking at building that profile also for your career development in terms of attracting people to you, even whether you stay in research or you want to move into a different direction at some point in your career. It's a fantastic opportunity to connect with like-minded people, people with the same interests. There is definitely something about job search. Most people think, oh, LinkedIn is all about job search. And yes, it is, but that's not all of it. So I see many, many opportunities being shared by academics on LinkedIn, opportunities, postdocs, lectureships. People know that now. The more and more researchers, academics are coming onto LinkedIn, and it's becoming much more important in terms of sharing opportunities. And equally, I also work with researchers who make a career change and go into different sectors and apply, either do research in non-higher education environments, or make a career change. And LinkedIn is wonderful for that, because you can reach out to recruiters. Recruiters are always on LinkedIn. They're always looking for talent. So there are many, many reasons. And then one thing we haven't talked about, and we don't have time for that, but if again, that's one thing with the premium, or some universities like Leeds buy a license for staff and researchers and students. So all of us at the university have access to LinkedIn Learning, and LinkedIn Learning is a fantastic resource. And I would just inquire whether your university has that license. That means you can access more than 20,000 courses online on LinkedIn, from AI to Excel to project management, emotional intelligence, you name it, it's all there. And so at the University of Leeds, we encourage our researchers to engage with LinkedIn Learning and develop their skill set that way. I hope, Imen, that gave you some ideas. So yes, it's profile, yes, it's building networks, becoming more visible, and a lot more. Great question, thank you. Unless there is anything else, and we can come up we can come back to questions. Let me just show you what I had planned now for the second part of our session together. And this is, I wanted to show you now that you've got a strong profile, and I would really emphasize, spend time on developing that profile, because you want to be proud and confident. Yes, I'm showing my best side here. That's when we then reach out to people and network and connect with them. So I want to show you some ways how you can do that. And then I also want to show you how can you start getting more visibility. And I know, the researchers I work with, they often find that the scariest piece. Writing a profile is one thing, and hoping that people come to you and building the right keywords in that you build your community. But this next step is, how do I now become more active and more visible? And I want to share some strategies with you that I use with my researchers here at Leeds all the time. We start gently, small, and build the confidence, and more and more and more. And then before they know it, they start posting things. And so I just suggest we go back onto LinkedIn, and I can show you things live that way. And that makes more sense. That makes much more sense. So here we go. And I want to show you how to start connecting with people. So we all have a profile that we're happy with. Now we're ready to think, okay, who do I know? How do I reach out to them? And there are different ways of doing this. And for instance, if you know people already, who you want to connect with, and I'll just see whether I can find, I'm just playing here with the system, and I just need to find someone I am not connected with. And I just wanted to see whether, here we go, Mike Hasenmüller. We are not connected with yet. And I just thought this is a great opportunity for me to show how would you do this. So Mike is on the call with us here. And I find his profile, and then I also see already, oh, he's connected to Antonio and someone else, so I can click on that and see that. But here you go to the profile and then you click on connect. And what you can see here now is this distinction. It says, personalize your invitation to Mike Hasenmüller by adding a note. LinkedIn members are more likely to accept invitations that include a note. Absolutely true. And then they tell me, because I have premium, I have unlimited notes. If you have a free account, you get 5. But if you can, I would always add a note. And now I type a message in. I have 300 characters. If you have a free account, you get 200 characters. It's not very much. And I won't send it off now, but basically what you do is you type a message in, and I need to think, why would Mike want to connect with me? And I would definitely make it clear, explaining who I am, because we just met tonight on the webinar here. And so you can put it into context, and I will write something nice so that he says yes. So the more you personalize, think, why would that person want to be connected with me? What makes sense for them? I think that's a really good way to think about it. What's in Mike's interest to be connected with me? Not the other way around. Oh, I want the person to connect with me. It's all about me. It's about what we have in common. Find a good reason that they say yes, send it off, and then they will receive it. And then, very often we're so busy, not everyone goes into LinkedIn every day. So if people don't respond straight away, don't take it personally. We're all very busy people. But one thing I would really recommend that you do when you connect with someone, whether you reach out or someone reaches out to you and you accept the connection request. Personally, I use LinkedIn as a relationship building tool. Again, call me old-fashioned, but that's for me really important. I connect with people I have something in common with professionally. They're part of my community. So I would always reach out and write a few sentences just to start building that connection. And people are always surprised when they get those messages from me afterwards. But for me, it's not just, oh yes, yeah, I added another person to my community. For me, it is really, there is a reason why I reach out, and there is a reason why I say yes, and I want to just start that conversation. And you never know what these things link to, and yeah. what people come up with. So I've had lots of collaborations because I started the dialogue. And that's really how I see LinkedIn as a fantastic tool. So thank you for that demonstration, Mike, and I will reach out to you afterwards. I just don't want to take too much time for writing a little note to you. I'll do that afterwards. Can you see? So you go into the person's profile, you click on connect, and then you decide, do you send it with a personal note or without it? You have 5 with the free account per month. Another way that you can connect, and that is one that I think is really useful for us who work in university institutions, and that is every university is on LinkedIn. And I'll just take now, I won't take our own, I'll just take any university, and I'll just think University of Auckland. Let's go to New Zealand. Let's just demonstrate that. University of Auckland, here we are. Okay, here we go. So I just want to go on their profile. I have to admit, I don't have many connections with Auckland, but that is my reason for using a different university. So there is one person I know who works there, brilliant. Not very much. Leeds would look very different, but that's not the point. I just want to show you any university is on LinkedIn. And now let's say if I want to move to New Zealand and move to Auckland and think, who would I know in the university system? How can I find out more about opportunities, start those conversations? So I would go definitely on LinkedIn because there's a profile. And can you see this here? You can see there's information about the university, what they're posting, any jobs going at the University of Auckland. There's something here about the community, but this is the one I'm really interested in. That's the alumni. And the alumni is basically everyone who has been a member of staff there or has studied there. So if I click on alumni, you'll be very surprised to see the incredible information that we can now glean. So Auckland has 168,000 alumni on here. And I won't make it about me. I'm a researcher developer, but let's say you are, let's say you're a researcher in biology. And you think, oh, I always wanted to go to New Zealand and there's a fantastic research group and let's just see who is there. So I put the keyword biology in and then I put a start here. So if we do it more recent, it will be more junior, younger colleagues. If we go earlier, it will be more senior, more experienced colleagues. But I think I'll make it broad and I'll just go from 2010 to 2025. And I just want to search now and let's see what comes up. Okay, still far too many. Let's try again because that did not work very well. That's not brilliant, is it? It's too many people. I'm not going through 115 or 113,000 colleagues. Let's see. Okay, still too many. Okay, but what I can do now is obviously, and the interesting thing is all these 58,000 colleagues would show up here now. But obviously, I'm not doing that. I want to make it smaller. But what I can do is I can look at, where do they work? Where do they live? What do they do? And let's say I'm interested in research. I just click on research. And now we're down to 3,100. And I go further, I go over, what are they skilled at and what did they study? So for me, I wanted to look at those biology and biological sciences. So I click, that's now down to 176. And I could now say, okay, so the only people, I want only people who live in Auckland, let's say, but maybe that's not that relevant to me. But what do they do and what are they skilled at? Okay, and I just want to talk to people who are, really skilled at data analysis. Now I have 56. And if we look below, it doesn't take me long. I can look at those 56 and I can look at, okay, who would I like to talk to? Who is a good connection. And what you can then do is you can go onto their profiles and you can then learn more about them. So I'll just pick, and Victoria Hewitt is a mutual connection. So I know Victoria. So if I click here, it takes me to the profile. And then I can look at the profile and decide, oh, would she be open? And maybe I can go to my colleague, my connection here, Victoria, and see, Victoria, are people in New Zealand, are they open for this? Do you know Kate? But you're connected, do you know Kate? Do you want to introduce me? Anything like that. But what we can then do is we can look at the profile and, Kate is obviously doing a lot of things here. And yeah, I don't see much about what she does as a research operations coordinator, but she might be a really friendly person I could connect with and say, is there any chance I could talk to you about, what it's like to work there, any opportunities? Victoria is a joint connection for us. Would you be open to that? So I would click on the connect and again, add node or send without node, that's your choice. But I would probably mention we're both connected to Victoria and I wanted to reach out to you. So that's probably taken me, what, 5 minutes now? So you can do this for any university. You can do this for any background. You can do this for any location, any employer, any skills. It's really, really powerful. And so that's another way that you can find people. Or let's say you want to connect with people in an organization. Let's use an industry example. Let's say, let's put Unilever there, just for argument's sake. Unilever, I'm interested in people in Unilever, and I only have 2 connections there, but I know those really, really well. So I could click on here and I could say, and they're both previous researchers at the University of Leeds. And if I was interested in finding out more, I am directly connected to them. So that is the first. They're directly part of my network and I can message them and we can communicate, and I would just go in touch with them and say, oh, Raquel and Faiz, I'm looking at moving into Unilever. I'm interested in this and this and this. Is there someone you suggest I could connect with or would be good to talk to? So you can go out and directly find people. If you know the name, you just search up here. Or if you want the broader search in organizations, in universities, people with the same background or any other background, you can go through the alumni function or through the company profiles, because everyone who works there comes up then in your search. So that's what I wanted to share with you as proactive steps, how you can build your network. Don't forget also, as you build your profile, you have the right keywords in there. It looks great. It's attractive. People see what you stand for, who you are. You will get more and more people who want to connect with you. And I would recommend that if you're not regularly on LinkedIn, maybe go in twice a week at least and just check, or maybe you have it on your phone. And then obviously you get the notifications all the time, because it's just good to keep an eye on it. And especially when you are in job search mode, recruiters are always in a hurry. They always want to get a response quickly. In that case, you'd be on there obviously a lot more anyway. So let me just check, do you have any questions about the connections? Nothing yet, but if there's anything that isn't clear, let me know. I mean, one thing I get asked a lot is, what is this first, second, and third, next to the name? So the first is directly connected. LinkedIn calls it first degree. LinkedIn is a big fan of, having our inner circle. We know people, and that's our inner core. That's first. Then the people in our direct connections, the first degree, they are connected to people directly, so that is their first. But my second degree connection, and then one level further out, is the third degree connection. That's as far as LinkedIn goes: first, second, and third. And the difference between a first, second, and third is the first degree connection, that the direct connection with you, I always call it, so the inner circle means, we can message each other. Anything that they post on LinkedIn will come up in my notifications. So it's basically that news feed that we have. Any posts that comes up directly, I just need to click on it and all these things are coming up. Also, I can recommend them. They can recommend me. So that's the guarding mechanism that LinkedIn has. They really want to make sure if someone recommends you, they really know you, and there have to be a first-degree connection. Otherwise, people would probably be tempted to write all sorts of things, that we can't verify. So there's a lot of emphasis that LinkedIn puts on trust in that inner circle. So you can connect. Also, I can, unless I change my settings, I can see all the connections that my first-degree connections have. So I could go into Faiz's or Raquel's network on LinkedIn and just look who are they connected to. But you can also lock that down if you're worried about people coming, spammers potentially coming into your network or looking who you're connected with. So that's the thinking behind the first degree, that inner circle. You can message, you can see their notifications, you can recommend them, they can recommend you, and it's signified by that first. There's no harm in being the second or third, but the first is just that you have more direct interactions with those people. And in terms of numbers, yes, I mean, I'm not motivated by numbers, but I think if you have only 20, 30 connections on LinkedIn, first degree connections, and you think, why do I not get any visibility? Why do not people not see my posts? Why don't they come to my profile? You just need a certain critical mass. So I would definitely say these days, I would think, try and get to 150 over time. This might feel like a really big number, but I know a lot of PhDs at the University of Leeds who already have 500. I'm always impressed, how did they do that? So the real fun on LinkedIn begins when you have 500. And for a long time, for me, that felt totally unachievable. I want to be honest about this. Then I think I was stuck at 350. I went to some conferences and suddenly I got over the 500, and that is when you get huge visibility. There seems to be something with LinkedIn algorithms. I would not be upset if it takes you a while to get. I mean, not everyone wants to be connected to 500 people, but if you want real visibility, if you just have 20 or 30 first degree connections on LinkedIn, you just won't get the same reach. It's just the way it is. So have a think about how important that that size is. The maximum connections you can have is 30,000. There is no way I want 30,000 first degree connections on LinkedIn. There's no way I can manage that, and I also wouldn't want to be connected with so many people. It becomes very unyieldy and unwieldy. So 500 is, I think I'm now at 2,400, but I've been on here for 20 years and I've been in my career for a long time, and that is certainly not something that I would expect from anyone. It just happens so over time, and yeah, just a bit of encouragement. Don't get too worried about the numbers, but if you just have sort of 20, 30 people, you probably won't get as much back from LinkedIn as someone who has at least 150, 200, and then ideally over 500 at some point in your career. Let me tell you a little bit about how do you get started to get visibility. Yes, one strategy is build your network slowly over time. Do it organically. There is no rush. I mean, I want to encourage you, take your time and think, who do I want to be connected to? I would not say, oh, connect to everyone and anyone. Connect to people that really matter to you. You have something in common, and it makes sense for you to have that connection. I wanted to show you a few examples now of people who have used some strategies. And I looked earlier today and want to give you something up to date. This is a colleague of mine, Richard, and he just put something on here. I wanted to show you where I can show you some strategies. My internet is sadly becoming a little bit slower. Let's just see. I wanted to look at his posts. And this is the thing, you can see everything on here. This is for some people a little bit scary. Basically one can see everyone's activity on LinkedIn for a long time. Okay, let me just find that post that he put recently. Okay, here we go. That's the post I wanted to share. Because I know that researchers often say, oh, it's really a little bit embarrassing, all these self-congratulatory posts on LinkedIn. But I just wanted to share, he's just got a new role. He's an AI expert here at the University of Leeds. And I just wanted to show you how people engage with these posts and what makes sense. And when you look at the post here, you can see that more than 80 people responded. So you can like it, you can find it inspirational, you can love it. I mean, you can find it funny, whatever you choose. But I think what is actually even nicer is where you get the attention is when you actually put a comment on. And I just want to show you that as a very simple example. So someone got a new job. We see this all the time on LinkedIn, someone in your network, and then you might just like it. There's nothing wrong with that, but where you get more visibility is actually with the comments. And I wanted just to show you that and what I mean. So let's give LinkedIn a chance. Here we go. So yeah, most relevant. I just wanted to show you, yeah, let's just look at those. So lots and lots and lots of people. But can you see what's so lovely? People are making a comment and then people are also, responding. So it's almost like, you have that conversation. And this is actually, yes, okay, it's a congratulatory post, but it's actually a really nice way to do it. And I'll show you another example in a second where it's more about a topic. But I made a comment and we actually had quite a conversation about this because I was really intrigued. And I learned something from him, because I'm really interested in AI and careers. It's not coming up now, but you can see, it's a great opportunity to have those conversations between colleagues, and it's an easy thing to do. So I always think if you start wondering about how to get a little bit more visible on LinkedIn, a very quick and simple way to do it is with comments. And quicker but less effective, in my view, is if you just, do a quick thumbs up, a like, or whatever. Also, personally, I am not a big fan of the generated AI generated responses that we see all over LinkedIn. Lots of people hate those. Yeah, it's quick and easy, but I personally think, really, I think there is something to be said to say something in your own words and showing your relationship to the person and showing your expertise, whatever it is. So this is a really simple way. And what I would really love for you to do is once you've got your profile is to think, okay, I'm going out now and I'm showing my expertise. So this was easy. This is just a new job. That's a really easy one. But I want you to think about, with your research background, where are the people you communicate with, work with, collaborate with, or who you'd like to collaborate with? Seek these people out and then look at their posts. And is there a good contribution you can make? I'm not saying let's add noise and say, oh, great post. I mean, you see this on LinkedIn, and I think this is just not really very useful. If we all say, oh, wonderful post, great post, thank you, that's noise. But if I want you to think about how can you, with your expertise, your unique position, your voice, how can you contribute to a conversation? Because that's really what I think the beauty of LinkedIn is. We can have some really good conversations, and that's what LinkedIn also likes, and that's also what the algorithms favor. So my challenge to you is, who do you know on LinkedIn? Who are you connected with? Who you want to reach out on LinkedIn, and start those conversations. And if you're looking for collaborators, if you know people in your field and you're aware of them, but maybe not collaborating yet, nothing stops you from looking at their profile, looking at what they're posting, and looking for opportunities, where can you bring your voice in, something that adds to the conversation. And you know what? People do notice it. It really, really gets noticed because LinkedIn sends, if you're the author of the post, LinkedIn sends you a notification that people made comments. You definitely look. And we all love it when we write something on LinkedIn and people make a comment, because it means we get seen, we get heard, and there's someone who's interested in the same things, and we pay attention. And that is the beauty. There are 1.2 billion people on LinkedIn. There will be some people who really want to engage with you. So let me just show you an example, and that's an example from myself. Not that I want to necessarily draw attention to my profile, but I just want to show you something where I had a lot of interaction recently. And again, that was something I was umming and ahhing about it because it was an award I won. And I know a lot of researchers are always worried, oh, I don't want to brag, I don't want to show off, but it's something I did in the end. And I want to share the strategy with me. So when you win something, you can use a similar strategy. And let me just find that post. Because I didn't just want to say, oh, look how wonderful I am, you know, I won an award. That is not in my nature, but I did want to talk about the topic. And sorry, my internet has gone very slow. Here we go. So you can see what I'm doing here. You know, I just reposted this. That's another strategy, reposting things. What is actually more powerful is when you give it your own slant. So this is, yes, I reposted something. These are project partners of ours. But what I did was I gave it my own contribution, my own, I positioned it in a certain way. And what you can see here, what's so beautiful on LinkedIn is you can actually highlight. So you can pull in the project partners. You just have to do an @ and start typing the name. So it's a collaboration between 3 universities in the north of England, Leeds, York, and Sheffield. And I wanted to do that hyperlink because then the owners of those pages also see that I did this, and it's visible, it's in a different color, it makes a lot of sense. But here, what I've done here is, this is an actual person, so you can put the @ sign and then start typing the name, and they will get notified that I've mentioned them because I want to give them the profile. It's a fantastic project I wanted to highlight. And you know, I write a little bit about it, and then because you know it's a fantastic opportunity. I want to share it widely. So what I did here then, and I explained what I did, tagging senior colleagues who are fabulous at sharing opportunities within the academic communities. And then I tag these people and they have shared it. So that's one way, you know, getting people's attention by tagging them. And it wasn't my post, but I gave it my own input, you know, the way I positioned it. And often we find that's more effective than just reposting. Reposting is quick. Writing a few lines doesn't take that much time. It's more effective. So you decide how much time you have to do these things. But what I wanted to show you was this one here, because what you can see is, so this is the post, and what I want to show you, and I'm not showing off, this is what you can achieve as well, is you know, lots of people congratulated me, but also lots of people made comments, and that's the visibility that you can get with LinkedIn. Then also, you know, you can see LinkedIn gives you lots and lots of analytics if you're into the data analysis piece. But I just want to show you that I want to explain the strategy behind that post. So yes, I won an award. I was very reluctant to put just the award out, but what I thought, something that's really important to me, it's values champion here at the university. You will have your your own wonderful achievements. I just want to give you that as an example, because I know that's often one of the biggest discussions I have with the researchers. They're fine about sharing their research. I'll give you some examples in a minute. But when it comes to anything that is a special achievement, a personal achievement, they really struggle. Oh, I don't like showing off. But it's the nice thing is people want to celebrate you, and I just want to show you how that worked. So yes, I won that award, but what I did was I wrapped it up in something. Why is this award so important to me? And how did I use all this work to, you know, get that award? I wanted to have a conversation about how important values are in our work, in our research culture, in the way that I behave, in the way that I can challenge others, the way that behave, because we have a very clear value set at our university. So I wrote a post about this. You know, and I gave, you know, some insights. Why is that important in my work? You know, and then you can see I used some of the symbols to make it, you know, pop a little bit more attractive. And then, yeah, gave that here. I did say thank you. And I also said thank you to 3 people who've been really instrumental in my career here and who've inspired me every single day. And it's very honest. I'm not, this is my true sentiment. And what I wanted to show you was, so I'm tagging people here. So that's a really good strategy. But then what was so lovely was how many people actually then commented. And that's the power of it. And one thing is when people comment, it's good practice, it's good etiquette on LinkedIn to then go back. And I've had some really lovely conversations with people. And it's been, to be honest, it's been the highlight of my career here at the University of Leeds. I'm not sharing it to show off, but just sort of to show you, we all have colleagues who really appreciate us and they're very generous with us and they also want to celebrate us. And the lovely thing is that, when people, I mean, I've had some real conversations about values. I'll give you, maybe I'll find it here. That was really interesting. That was someone, really big conversations here and being challenged also. That was someone who really challenged me, which I thought was fantastic. Just look at the conversations and people joined in and yes, it was quite a bit of work, but I don't win an award all the time. So it was just one of these things. But can you see? Oh, here we go. This was a challenge. So our a professor here at the University of Leeds, wrote a long reply. I thought it was amazing. And then we had quite a bit of a conversation, and it was backwards and forwards, and so it's adding something about the conversation, how important are values in our work and what do they contribute to a research culture. Can you see where I'm coming from? So it's not necessarily, I didn't just post this because I wanted to show off. I wanted to share something that's really important to me. I know it resonates with my colleagues, with my community, and we had a really good conversation about it. Let me just find some more examples. And if you have any questions about why is this so important, how do you do it, do put it in the chat. I'm very happy to answer any questions. Let me just find maybe a researcher who I can look at and give you another example. Maybe Julia, she has been quite, Julia's been active with her beautiful profile. She's been active on LinkedIn. Here we go. So Julia, so all you need to do is you can go into someone's activity and you look at the posts and then you can see everything that people have put on LinkedIn. It's just being aware of that. Some people are not aware. Sometimes they make flippant comments and think, oh, but you can always delete those comments. So nothing to worry about. But here I can look at show all posts. I can also look at everyone's comments. I can look at videos. So, we can see our activity on LinkedIn. And, Julia's really good at sharing things, reposting things. She said to me that, since she's developed this really strong profile, she had a few posts a couple of months ago where she had some research breakthroughs and she got something like 2,000 impressions. And that is, I have never achieved that in my life. I was so impressed and so happy for her. It really shows, she has 589 followers. She's just over the 500 mark here, but, she had really good traction from it. Let me just give you, so can you see also, and what we know, if we add a photo, it adds a lot, just the words, the text posts are not that effective because people just go for the visuals, so bring in some, some people use emojis, some people use symbols. I mean, what is your style? What works for your community? I'm not big on emojis, but I use symbols just to make it a little bit more interesting and fresh. But look at that, just these photos, it draws you in. If you know where that research center is, you go straight into it, and because you're interested, it makes sense. And she was at this event and she just took a few photos, and it's interesting. It gives an idea what our colleagues are up to. Another one here, bigger one there, and so she shares keep your eyes out for opportunities to join this journal. She's really engaged in her field, and she likes to share things about people, opportunities. She's a really good colleague like that. So a lot of PhDs follow her as well because, she's always the one who shares opportunities for others. So is this enough for you to get started? And what questions do you have? It doesn't have to be complicated. You can start with commenting, find people who are of interest to you, look what they post, and when it's a good opportunity, you have something to say, don't shy away. You might want to, if it's nerve-wracking, I know for some researchers say to me, this is a really big thing for me, start with your colleagues, start small, see the reactions, see the positivity coming from it, get used to making comments and go from there. So slow, steady, make it easy for yourself. Do a couple of comments, and then you might want to do your own post, and maybe I just show you how to do that. So you always go on your own profile, and yeah, so here we go. So you can either do it from here, or I just go home, and the first thing that comes up, really simple, is start a post. And that's how we do it. We just click on here and share your thoughts. Yes, here we go, rewrite with AI. I personally am not a fan. I'd be really interested to see what you think of it. I just find that when AI rewrites what I have written, it's a different style, it's a different tone. It doesn't sound like me anymore. I don't like it for that reason. But people differ. Some people use it, some people don't. I just like to do it in my own style. You can add images here, you can add media, you can add videos, but basically all you do is start typing, and it's like a WordPress site basically. So really, really simple. You can also schedule it, and you can then also decide, do you want to go out to everyone on LinkedIn who can see it, or do you want only to your connections, or do you want to put it into a certain group? You are in control. If you are nervous to start with, you can just say, no, this is only going to my connections, or this is only going for this very small group I'm part of. I just want you to use it in a way that makes sense to you, build that confidence, and then go bigger and bigger over time. So there's video you can link, there's a photo. And then one thing you can also do is, so this is a post. Write an article is much bigger. That's basically like a blog post. I've done a few of those over time, but they take much more time, and therefore people don't really use them as often. But this is, if you're familiar with WordPress, it's very, very similar. Here's the formatting. It's very, very simple. But we all have a lot to do. So if you think, oh, I haven't got time for these big posts, then I would say just start small. Start commenting, start sharing, start giving it your own slant when you share, and then start writing your first posts. And they can be short posts, but bring some images in. So this is as much as I wanted to say. We have a little bit of time, and I just wanted to open this up to questions. Anything I haven't explained well you'd like me to repeat or show again? Any thoughts or questions? If you put them into the chat to everyone, then we can see them and we can answer them. Let's see. Anything about getting visible on LinkedIn, connecting with people? Have you got questions for me? And don't be shy, I'm here to answer them. We've got a few minutes left. Or if it's about the profile, ask me about the profile. I'm here to help you answer those questions. Just give you a minute or so. If there are no questions, then I will just point out to you what the next event is in this series. Okay, there is one question in the chat about making the backgrounds. Okay, what is the question? Is it how to make the backgrounds? Is that for the profile? Oh, here we go, Haruna. Yes. Okay. How do we create the beautiful backgrounds? Okay, let me just go on mine, and I assume um, you mean the header image. Is that what you mean? Something like this? And I can show you on my profile because I can. Brilliant, Haruna. Thank you for that question. So, first of all, there is something, and I'll put this into the chat here. There is a tool I use, and it's the basic version. It's free, and you only use the basic version, and it's called Canva.com. So on Canva.com, go for the free version. There is they have a lot of social media metrics on there, and they have social media how do you call it? Basically, all you need to do, it's a formatting tool. All you need to do is upload your image into it. So that's a really easy way to do. But I can also, and I'll show you, I can also go here, edit cover image. I can even do, okay, I can do slideshow. That's premium again. Sorry about that. But, edit cover image. So what it is I can basically, you can move the image around. So you saw there was a pencil, you upload your image, and then you can move it around. So you don't necessarily have to go on Canva. I just find it a bit easier because the formatting on LinkedIn, it's a strange sort of format, isn't it? It's that long rectangular piece. So images you can buy on sites like depositphotos.com. You can take your own screenshots unless it's confidential information, or your research and it's confidential. So some of us can take photos if it's not confidential, others can't. There's also a site, and I'll just put that into the chat, which I absolutely adore, and that is called unsplash.com, and it's by wonderful photographers who give the images for free. The only thing you need to do then is you need to credit the photographer, and I think that is absolutely fair. So basically, I would encourage you, find the right image, make it easy for yourself. You can go on Canva and put it straight into the right format, then you upload it, or you can do the cover image on LinkedIn. I have to admit, I had to fiddle around a little bit. In the end, I went on Canva, did it that way. Let me just see, Haruna, does that answer your question? But personally, I'm a very visual person. Lots of people say to me they're really drawn into these images, and that's why I think it's really important. And you also, yeah, it's also much more attractive than this gray silhouette. Okay, here is also another good question. Can you say something about targeting companies yourself with DMs for internship? Okay, so what I would suggest is that if you are looking for internships, I would look at, okay, make a target list, let's say of 20 companies, and I would probably, in the first instance, I would go here to the Jobs tab and look, because when you go into the Jobs tab here, and you can search for internships. So that's the great thing. So when you look for jobs and you can put in the keywords, there is another button you can click for internships. So that's what I would do. Put in the companies, click internships, and see what comes up. So that's one way to do it. The other way is go through people. So I would say you have your target list of the companies. Who do you know in those companies? So again, you could just you can just type in here the name of the company. It will come up, and then you see how are you connected. I mean, on LinkedIn, we don't really do DMS, so these direct messages. I would say connect with the right people. You can also get in touch with recruiters, depending on how big the company is. Do they have recruiters that can help you? But I would really make that target list. Look at the companies. where do you see people? Also, you can find people through the alumni function and see, okay, who has done internships at certain companies? Can you talk to these people and say, how did you get that internship? Would you be happy to talk to me about that? People are astonishingly open about these things if you give them a good reason to connect with you. So Haruna, that would be my recommendation to start with. Let me just, as a last thing, just briefly share. Yeah, these are the tips I have for you. They will be in the presentation. So LinkedIn profile tips. I have about 2 pages of those. Another one here. Then I've got some LinkedIn visibility tips, but what I was really after was I wanted to highlight the next session in the series. My wonderful colleague Taryn Bell, she will be coming onto the webinar on the 15th of October, and this is 10 to 12 a.m. GMT UK time. So I believe so if you are, on the other side of the world, this will be in the evening for you, but you will also get the recording. And it's my colleague Taryn Bell, and she's absolutely fantastic, and she will be doing a session on career planning with purpose. Definitely worth attending. She is wonderful, very knowledgeable, and yeah, that will be a real treat for you. So I hope you can make it on the 15th of October. But I want to say thank you so much for sticking with me. I know it's been a long session, for asking your great questions, and I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn. You take care.